I was in the U.S. Army. I joined and served for 3 years in the late 80s.
I served in the United States Navy as an aviation ordnance man. I served for a little over a year.
I was in the United States Marine Corps. I served for 22 years. The first 15 years I was a helicopter mechanic and a crew chief, and then the last 7 years I served as a recruiter.
I was an Army transportation officer and I served for 4 years.
I spent over 4 years in the Army, culminating in a relatively short deployment to Afghanistan.
So I served in the U.S. Army. I was active duty for 4.5 years. I was a supply sergeant in logistics.
I served in the Army for 21 years, and my career was split up really into 2 different phases. I spent the first 10 years in Army aviation. I flew UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters. Following that, the Army's analytic career field called Operations Research Systems Analysis.
I served in the Royal Netherlands Air Force, and I have been in the Air Force for about 14 years. And I was an officer, and my career was mainly in the HR department of the Air Force, but I also had different positions in civil-military cooperation, and I started my career very early as a fighter controller.
So I was in the Navy for 9 years total. I did go to school while I was in the Navy. I was a midshipman for 4 years. And then I was active duty for 5 years after that. And my primary responsibility was as a bombardier navigator, flying A-6 intruders off of carriers, and was also avionics and electrical branch officer responsible for maintenance of the aircraft as well.
I learned how to be more flexible and adapt to different situations and just really take on the understanding of knowing that life changes in an instant and you just have to keep on pushing through.
So some of the things that I learned during my transition is to never get disheartened when you are looking for a position. The right company will snatch you up essentially when they see that the skills that you've developed in the military will really help to further their own goals as well. And once you find that company, they will take you on and train you and just help you during that transition as well.
Well, one of the things I learned was there is a lot of jargon and acronyms we use in the military that don't translate over very well. So for me, it was learning to, what I always called learning to talk civilian again and get out of the military references and terminology.
Like many veterans, my transition to a civilian life and a civilian job was not really easy. I have a large file on my computer of all the applications that were declined at many of the companies I applied for. But what I kept in mind was I needed to find a company that fit who I was and what my ambitions were in life, and I was persistent in finding a company. I found that in PACCAR, and I was lucky to find a position that matched where I was in my career with the skill set I brought as an analyst for the Army.
For me, the transition to civilian life was fairly easy. My first job out of the service was at DAF, a PACCAR company, and I found the transition to go pretty easy. The way DAF is structured and was led had very much resemblance also with some leadership styles in the military in the Netherlands. So for me, it felt very natural to start working at DAF.
What I learned is it could be challenging because you get out of your bubble, and it is a bubble that you are used to living in with people that are feeling the same way. And once you get out of the military, you feel you're alone, and you might feel like you need to find your home. And I always found very helpful to reach out to other veterans whenever I was transitioning out, and keep that network of familiarity and also people that has gone through the similar experiences. So utilizing the veteran network has helped me out a lot.
Create a plan. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to work? what is your future gonna look like? Nobody's gonna have that stepping stone for you anymore. You're gonna have to create that yourself.
PACCAR is a great company for former military members. We are a highly professional organization. There's a lot of respect for the individual as well as the team here, and it is just an environment that is supportive and conducive for a transition from military life.
The skills you have developed in the military really do directly translate into civilian positions, no matter what anybody says. You never realize just how many different groups of people you work with in the military, and those backgrounds and experiences that they have really help you to communicate and develop relationships with people, and work as a team outside of the military as well.
You know, my advice really generally centers around finding a way to articulate your particular story. And it's more understanding the details and driving. So for instance, a lot of people say, well, in the military or in the Army, I did a lot of different projects and was in a lot of different things, and so I want to be in project management. But they tend to not know the next level. So well, what type of project management? Construction project management, IT project management, materials project management. Those are all various different things and different skill sets that you need to, build your own individual story, articulating which one of those you feel you'd be compelling and convincing. So hiring managers have a reason to be comfortable with your experience.
There is life after military. That's the main thing, what I learned there. It's not only about the military and the service. There are great jobs and great opportunities also outside of the military.
Be prepared to be clueless, and you will probably need, again, the veteran network that I was talking about. You will need their help.
It's, just a fantastic opportunity that you've had in the military. There are so many skills that you learn and that you're taught that are perfectly transferable to civilian world and will help you be successful in whatever you do. And so I'd say, that initial transition is a little challenging just because it's a different pace, a different way of life. The family has to get used to it as well. And so, but once you get through that first 6 months to a year, it's fantastic.
So I'd say the biggest thing is being able to work in ambiguity, not fully understanding the direction you need to go, but knowing that you have an end line and you need to reach it, and it's not you by yourself working to reach it, figuring out who can help you get there and how their goals correlate with your goals, becoming resilient, working in ambiguity, and forming relationships to make things happen.
Those are many things, but the two that I think are the most outstanding, the first one is leadership. In the military, you are required to show your leadership basically from the start of your career, and especially I've had my career as an officer. You are trained to make difficult decisions in difficult situations with limited resources and in unknown situations. That's also the next thing. You are capable and you are required to make the best of each situation, also with limited resources. You will be working in unknown situations and you don't know what's ahead of you, and you need to make the best of it. And literally you're responsible for somebody else's life, so that in those situations you will learn to make the right decisions at that moment.
Getting the work done. We don't, as veterans, we don't accept the word mission failed. Mission doesn't fail, and we always find a way. We worked with limited resources, and even at PACCAR, if I don't know what I'm doing, I will find a way to get it complete, get whatever task I have on hand complete.
Probably the biggest things are the focus on teamwork, the focus on can-do, pulling together to get something done, the ability to be flexible and react to changing conditions. All of those are, basic principles that you learn in the military, which are applicable here at PACCAR.
My military experience really has been beneficial, I believe, in helping me form bonds and teams across PACCAR and all the organizations within PACCAR. I have a small team right now that I manage. I have 6 people, and we're incredibly tight-knit, and it parallels the type of teams that the Army is built on. Small teams are necessary to accomplish big tasks.
One of the things that I think is really strong at PACCAR is, again, teamwork and working within the team. And, what I learned in the military and how to be a team member, how to understand what my role was in the greater scheme of things, and how to be both subordinate as well as lead is something that has served me really well here at PACCAR, and it fits in very well with the organization and with the culture and how we do things here. So.
It's a big transition for people coming out of the military and moving into civilian life. People coming out of the military need a little bit of support, guidance, help with development. They have tremendous skills and background. Probably the best thing is to partner up incoming military personnel with mentors or buddies within PACCAR to help them with that transition so that they can be successful, they feel affiliated, they feel connected, and they can succeed with that transition.
Military personnel are incredibly resilient. They've had to deal with problems being thrown at them left and right, goals with not very straightforward steps to get there. They've really developed an excellent set of interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, and resiliency towards changes that are thrown their way.
People who have some military experience and background, they've made commitments at portions in their life towards team goals and objectives. And so really the best way to help motivate and get those folks on board is just to make sure we're providing that clear kind of objective and clear what's the end goal and how does each person's individual contribution towards that matter.
Military employees usually don't brag about their experience and their leadership skills and their problem-solving skills. But in my experience, military personnel has great leadership skills and great problem-solving skills, and that's something PACCAR always can use.
Veterans are a great asset to any company, obviously. We have our mottos in the military that says integrity, honor, and we live up to those. It's embedded in us, and it is always an advantage for companies to go with veterans. Again, there's going to be a learning curve like everyone else, but once you think about veterans as an investment, you will be better off in the long term.
First of all, I would just say for hiring managers, right, it's really more of a personal thing. I think the one thing that I probably struggled with a little bit when I first got out of the military was the perception among some of my initial managers and people that I worked with that military people are very rigid and inflexible and only know how to take orders. That's really not true. The military actually teaches a lot of flexibility and independent thinking and creativity that's necessary in order to get the job done. So if there is that perception, think the other way, because there's actually quite a bit of independent thinking that goes on in the military itself.